Winchell's Donuts is a donut and coffeehouse chain that started in 1948. Thank you for your suggestion.
Winchell's while you work.
Winchell's while you play.
Winchell's while you work and while you play.
The best time to enjoy Winchell's is all the time. And whether you like chocolate or glazed, cake or raised, plain or fancy donuts, we've got them all. In fact, we have a whole family of great tasting donuts. So come to Winchell's, where great taste runs in the family.
Winchell's while you work. Winchell's while you play. Winchell's while you work and while you play. Winchell's!
The first of Winchell's donut houses was opened on October 8, 1948 in Temple City, California by Vern H. Winchell, a 33-year-old jukebox salesman who had majored in business at Pasadena City College. Though he had originally planned a drive-in hamburger stand, when an identical operation appeared across the street, Winchell switched gears and opened a drive-in donut and coffee shop instead. A cup of coffee cost a dime and a donut was a nickel. Customers could watch donuts being made through the shop's windows. Winchell's concept proved to be a successful one, and in 1949, he opened 2 additional restaurants in Huntington Park and Southgate, California. Each year afterwards, 2 or 3 more outlets were added, and in 1953, the growing chain established its headquarters in the city of Alhambra, along with a facility to prepare donut mixes. In 1961, Winchell's went public on the stock market and at the same time expanded into Arizona and Colorado. By this time, Winchell's had begun franchise sales and was opening 30 to 40 new stores per year while taking in annual revenues of more than $3.6 million. The year 1964 saw the chain expand to the Pacific Northwest and introduce the apple fritter, a donut-like treat which quickly became popular with customers. By 1967, sales stood at $7.8 million and annual earnings were more than $1 million. In 1968, the company, which now boasts a total of 255 locations, merged with Denny's Restaurants, Inc. in a stock swap worth nearly $30 million. Vern Winchell would continue to manage the donut chain as well as serve on the Denny's board of directors. In 1971, Winchell's bought out its franchisees and converted all units to company ownership. The following year, Vern Winchell was named chairman and CEO of Denny's. In 1973, the donut division's headquarters and production center was moved to a site near the parent's firm home base of La Mirada, California. Under Vern Winchell's leadership, both restaurant chains expanded dramatically, and during the 1970s, Winchell's Donut House grew to 1,000 units. Stores were opened as far away as Japan, Spain, Holland, Korea, and the Philippines, and revenues reached an estimated $200 million per year. By the end of the decade, some of the firm's locations had become unprofitable, and in 1980, it was announced that 150 of the 968 units then in operation would be closed. That same year, Vern Winchell left Denny's, and several years later, he sold his ownership stake for a reported $600 million. In his 8 years of managing Denny's, its sales had more than quadrupled to $680 million. Winchell's Donut House's fortunes continued to deteriorate in the 1980s. By 1985, they saw another round of store closures in which 91 outlets were shuttered in Illinois, Minnesota, Ohio, and Texas. The company also reintroduced its franchise program, though most sales would consist of conversions of existing units. The typical investment required of a Winchell's franchisee at this time was less than $100,000, which included a $30,000 fee to the corporation. 6% of gross sales were also paid back to the company for royalties and advertising, An average outlet grossed $225,000, which yielded a profit of 12%. Franchisees were required to take a 6-week training program and subsequent refresher courses. They could expect visits from companies' regional consultants to monitor quality. Though 70% of Winchell's sales took place before noon, most restaurants remained open around the clock, with business in the overnight hours usually dominated by police officers. New outlets were typically located on a busy street on the side, which saw the most traffic during morning rush hour. In 1985, Denny's returned to private ownership in a leveraged buyout by its management, and the resultant debt led to a spin-off of the Winchell's division in December of 1986. The company had by now shrunk to 720 company-owned and 22 franchise units, but it remained the second largest donut chain in the United States after industry leader Dunkin' Donuts. It was also the largest on the West Coast, with 466 outlets in California alone. The company had recorded profits of $6.8 million on sales of $180 million for fiscal year ending in June of 1986. Winchell's financial picture began to take a sharp turn for the worst, though the company was introducing new products such as cinnamon rolls and bear claws, and had reached a deal to sell its donuts at 600 7-Eleven stores in Los Angeles. Per-store sales were dropping and quarterly losses started to mount. Winchell's parent firm was changing ownership yet again, having been purchased by TW Services in July. By January of 1988, Winchell's stock had dropped from its opening price of $18 to less than $4, and 45 more stores were set for closure. The financial reports continued to be grim, however, and $12.8 million in losses were recorded on sales of $145 million for the year. By December, the chain had shrunk to 671 outlets in 15 states. 68 of which were franchisee-owned. Winchell's problems appeared to stem from a variety of factors. While the company blamed increased competition, much of it was from small mom-and-pop operators. Some of its difficulties were internally generated, according to some observers. Under Denny's ownership, the firm had allocated little money to modernizing its restaurants or advertising them, and much of its profits had allegedly been pumped into keeping the parent firm afloat. In June of 1989, Denny's owner, TW Services, was sold to Coniston Partners, which shortly afterwards sought to jettison the stake it owned in Winchell's. A buyer was found in Chateau Holdings Limited. In December of 1989, shortly after the sale had been completed, Chateau announced it was selling 263 Donut House stores to Pizza Hut Inc., which would convert them to drive-through restaurants. The deal was worth nearly $40 million, close to what Chateau had reportedly paid for the whole chain. The company soon announced several new initiatives to boost revenues. These included adding menu items to expand the restaurant's business beyond the morning rush hour and acquiring a plant in Northern California that would ship frozen dough to the chain's outlets, which they would make from scratch. Sales for 1994 hit approximately $82.5 million, at which time the company had about 240 corporate-owned and 60 franchised outlets. During the mid-1990s, sales began to slip again, however, and dipped to an estimated $71 million in 1996. In 1997, they rolled out a new concept called Winchell's Express, a service counter that could be placed in convenience stores or sandwich shops to sell donuts that had been partially prepared off-site. The company was also experimenting with its product mix, adding bagels and new flavored dough donuts, which had fruit and other ingredients added before baking. Another addition took the form of shaped donuts that were prepared for certain holidays, including heart-shaped donuts for Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. In 1998, Winchell's introduced a new, higher quality blend of coffee called Legendary Gold. Ads for the drink targeted the Starbucks chain, using copy that described it as premium quality, cheaper alternative to Big Bucks coffee. The firm also abandoned its traditional styrofoam cups for more expensive, environmentally friendly Perfect Touch variety seen in gourmet coffee shops. One of the firm's biggest problems continued to be the influx of new competitors. In addition to sales that were being taken by an onslaught of gourmet coffee shops and grocery store bakeries, Winchell's turf was now being targeted by Krispy Kreme. In June of 1999, Winchell's took another major step back to basics, instituting a guarantee that all of its donuts would be warm and fresh, or free between 6 and 9 a.m. The chain's slogan became home of the warm and fresh donut and offered its customers a 14 donut dozen as opposed to the standard baker's dozen of 13. In a move taken from Krispy Kreme's book, a red flashing light would signal the emergence of a new batch of donuts, which would stay warm for 15 minutes. In 1989, Winchell's saw new partnerships form to open more Winchell's Express outlets in 7-Eleven stores and Lucy's Laundromats, a laundromat chain which offered food from the likes of Subway and Burger King. The company was also now working on increasing bulk sales to schools and businesses. In early 2002, a new television ad campaign was launched in Los Angeles. In November of 2002, company founder Vern Winchell passed away at the age of 87. In 2004, Winchell's was purchased by Yum Yum Donuts, a company which operates 70 donut shops under its own name, but continues to operate Winchell shops under their name. Today, there are around 104 locations found in California, Nevada, Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Kansas. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
Bringing back memories from the good old days. That's super cool, man.